Well, folks, we've had a hell of a debate. Welcome, folks. I'm glad you're here. Let me grab my hat. Here we go. Glad you two could be here. We're just now starting to populate the broadcast. More people will come in. Beto killed it tonight. Abbott looked like a fool. And that's not just my political bias. Abbott went through the entire debate. If I don't know if anybody else has a different opinion than this, I'm going to be working with the live chat tonight. It just appeared Abbott blamed anybody and everybody but himself for everything that was going on. As mentioned, is getting caught in a few bald-faced lies. For instance, the question about the 3,000 untested rape kits at DPS, he's claimed to have signed a law that made all that go away, but he may have signed a law, but it sure as hell didn't go away. Lucas here called it right on the money. That seemed to be the theme for the debate for Abbott. It was just blame everybody, anybody, and everybody for every question that he faced. Either that or just bald-faced lie. I mean, it was bad. It was bad. If we go issue by issue, I mean, the abortion response was absolutely the worst. I was really taken back by how unprepared Abbott was for that question. He had to know it was coming. It was something that's been it's been repeated multiple times. His statement on rape victims and what they should do to fumble so badly, to I totally not acknowledge the question, basically, and to ignore the fact that women that are raped are suffering a trauma, and they may not immediately go for a Plan B pill. It may take them time to recover to the point of being able to react. He just ignored it completely. Yeah, I know. But we're having a special debate edition, and I appreciate you for pointing it out there, Virgil. And I'm glad to see Kim here sees it the same way I did. I was afraid that I was being a bit politically biased, but Abbott really seemed to have no answers. He tried to claim every time he was posed with a problem that exists in the state, he seemed to claim that he already fixed it, which we all know is a load of shit. This is one that got me also is we're doing so badly in education. He totally denied the fact that we're 50th in mental health care, which is actually the truth. For Christ's sake, Mississippi rates better than we do. He said he signed a bill and now we're 27th. We're not 27th in mental health care. We're 50th. And that's just a fact. Abbott was allowed to lie repeatedly, but then again, assuming the fact checkers will get to him. Yeah, this is one that just really just told me right then and there that he lost this debate. Was that he, when asked if he'd moved too far to the right, rather than having a philosophical answer or an ideological answer, he started mumbling on about adoption and how because he adopted a kid, he views things the way he views things, and never really addressed the fact that he is the most radical governor in the country. I mean, even worse so than DeSantis. And that's saying something. This is absolutely true. Beto gave real solid answers. I mean, we'll go through. I actually took notes on each of the different subjects and what their responses were, but Abbott's answers were, well, he lied a lot. And he did so with a straight face, and the man actually really has no shame. Are there any particular subjects that you folks are wanting to dive into first? I want this to be kind of a round table between me and the chat. So please throw them out there. And I love this comment from Nancy to start with. Yeah, Beto really does have fantastic presence, and I understand why he didn't do it. But when they talked about his loss to Ted Cruz, they closed a ton of polling places, especially out in rural areas. They've closed the polling place out at A&M this time around. They're pulling the same crap all over again, where we've seen, exceptional population growth in the state of Texas, but they keep closing. They've closed almost 800 polling places. They're gerrymandering. Found out today they're caging. That's a little inside baseball that I really haven't released yet in any of my videos or anything. But we found out that these right-wing dark money groups have been spending quite a bit of money in caging. And if you don't know what caging is, that's where they'll mail you a letter to a prior address asking you to confirm your current registration. And these caging letters are going out this week. And if you don't respond within 2 weeks, they report to the state that you don't live at your current address anymore, even though they mailed it to a private address, former address. And they get you kicked off the voting rolls right before the election. So, folks, you're just going to have to stay on your registrations. You're going to have to stay on top of that, especially if you live in a blue area. No. Abbott did not, Beto did mention it, brought it up that it was Abbott's choice to have no audience there, and did suggest it was because there were so many members of families from the Uvalde shooting that were there at the debate to hold him accountable for not doing anything for 18 weeks. This, Lauren, thank you so much. I want to thank you so much for this comment. That was gobsmacking. It's just painfully clear where Abbott is on abortion. He is fully 100% proud of his radical position. The way he responded to that question just really made my jaw drop. I don't know how you folks felt about that, but him sitting there and saying that the Plan B was the answer for women that are raped and impregnated, and the ham-handed, uncaring, unfeeling, just unrealistic way he put it just really just made my jaw drop. I could not believe that a candidate that wanted people to actually vote for him was so unfeeling in his response. He never addressed the trauma involved. He never addressed anything. It was just take Plan B, and if not, we've got some state-sponsored prenatal care, and that's about it. I mean, I was just gobsmacked. Thank you, Lauren. That was a fantastic comment. That was on display tonight, Virgil. And that's one that he didn't address. You know, they even did a follow-up question about that so many people have a hard time getting the pill. I mean, hell, they're making it so these religious nuts can just refuse to give it to you at the pharmacy. It's just one thing after another. They're extremely expensive. Abbott says, well, if you'll tell the state that you've been raped, that the state will pay for it. Well, you've got to go through the whole process of dealing with the trauma, for one, deciding if you want anybody to know. Let's not make this a woman's issue. Say you're a man that's raped. Are you going to report that right away? To me, that's such a big problem. Forgive me about that. I got a gnat in here. That's such a big problem, is how insensitive men are. I mean, make it yourself, for God's sakes. These women are dealing with trauma. They're dealing with a dehumanizing situation that, I can't say I know how they feel. I can't. I can't say that I know how women feel in that situation. I don't. But I do know that I damn well have no business telling them how to feel, or that they need to report it so that they can get the care they need. And apparently this governor doesn't know that. This is another good one. Your insurance won't pay for it because you're not of childbearing age. Didn't address it at all. Did not address it at all. You can become impregnated when you're not of childbearing age. If you're raped and you become impregnated and you're 50 years old, your insurance won't pay for it. And that's just one more hassle that you've got to deal with. Just one more. God, there's just that's what got me. That's what got me so much in all of Abbott's responses, is that just the arrogance to think that he knew better Because he adopted a kid. That was his answer. Because he adopted a kid. He just knew better. He knew how better than doctors. He knew better than women. He knew better than anybody. He just had this epiphany when he adopted a kid that suddenly he had all the answers for these situations, and when clearly he hadn't thought through any of them enough to even get through a debate, much less pass a law. I mean, it was, heartbreaking is not the right word. Enraging and saddening at the same time. Exactly. Well put. Well put. And I love Beto's answer on it. The right end, when they asked him how far are you willing to go on abortion, he said that was settled with Roe v. Wade, and that's back where that's where we're going back to. Thank you for sharing that, Nancy. I would never be arrogant enough to assume I know how women feel after being raped, but yeah, I imagine powerless is one of the feelings. And for Abbott just to sit there and act like, well, just report it and we'll pay for the pill, with no care at all. No care at all. I also thought the gun control portion was definitely a win for Beto. He was able to walk back the "we're going to take your guns away" comment pretty well. I don't know how people felt about that, but it was honest. We can't get it through the legislature. Why talk about it? He did talk about raising the age. He said we can get the age of being able to purchase an assault weapon up to 21, like other states who have seen good results. He did say we can strengthen red flag laws. He did say that we can get universal background checks. And I think everybody wants all three of those things. Abbott just mumbled along and said that there was nothing that needed to be done, basically. Yeah, that was true basically of the entire debate. I mean, I don't know if you caught it during the immigration portion, and I mean, it was all trying to blame Biden for everything when actually everything Greg Abbott's trying to take credit for in this failure of an Operation Lone Star, actually Biden's wins. He's taking credit for federal arrests. He's taking arrests for federal deportations. He's taking credit for federal drug busts, and claiming that the going on $5 billion now that he's wasted hasn't been just that, a complete waste of money that went to nothing but trying to get Abbott reelected. Carol, I appreciate you sharing that. I'm not going to pull it up on the screen. I mean, unless you want me to, but I appreciate you for sharing that with us, and the fact that these are not easy issues. They are not easy issues. Yeah, you'd think Greg Abbott was debating Joe Biden by his responses. You would think he was debating Joe Biden rather than Beto O'Rourke by the number of times he said Joe Biden in this. I guess that turns on his base or something. I don't know. Jill, thank you for summing it up. I could not have summed it up more perfectly. Thank you. I truly appreciate that. Let me read this comment out loud. It's hard enough for us to try and deal with the aftermath of being raped, let alone assholes telling us we have to carry a baby. Fuck them all. 100% agree. Could not have said it better myself. Thank you. Gibby, this is perfect too. Let me read this. The problem with Abbott's answers is that they didn't address the well-being of the people of Texas. His answers were hollow and scripted. Beto spoke to us. That's true. And where you can really hit that is when you start listening to the details of what Abbott said. Let's flip over to what I jotted down. It really caught my attention when he was talking about taxes. Um, Abbott said he was going to basically end school taxes and that he was going to change appraisals. Basically, what he's talking about is ending the ability for your local school districts to fund themselves without proposing any other way for them to be funded, which goes right along with what Republicans have been trying to do forever, which is destroy the public school system. I mean, Abbott literally said that he will end school taxes when asked about how he was going to bring mortgages down. And then he said he was going to change appraisals. Well, changing appraisals, all that does is reduce the amount of money that your house is declared it's worth. And that affects the value of your home because, there's market value and there's appraised value. We both know, but they aren't unlinked here in Texas. They are not unlinked. If they reduce the appraisal of your home by $40,000 or $50,000, you can ask the current asking price, but most people going to buy it, looking to buy it, are going to say, "Hey, wait, it's appraised way below your asking price." So, you know, I don't. He really didn't have an answer, and that's what I mean by the devil's in the details when we watch this entire debate. Penny, I like the point that you're making here. A fetus in a woman's body is not a separate entity because it's connected to the woman's body by an umbilical cord until it's cut from the body or birthed. Then it becomes a separate body. I would agree and disagree with that to a point. Um, at about 30 to 32 weeks, what's inside a woman is a living being. It is a fully formed child that can live on its own. And at that point, to me, it becomes immoral to kill it. That's why there are almost no late term abortions that don't involve the baby already being, and I'll call it a baby after 32 weeks because it is. Um, I've been given by my daughter to share some personal experiences, but let me tell you, we had around 20, a little after 20 weeks. Mrs. Texas Paul could probably tell you the exact day because it was extremely traumatic. But my adult daughter faced a very difficult decision. And she went through living hell. I always get choked up when I talk about this. To try to make it to 32 weeks. And not only did she make it to 32 weeks, but she made it to 40 weeks. And it was hell on earth for her. I mean, it was living torture. Without getting into the details too much of it, but I was so glad. I remember Lauren, I remember Mrs. Texas Paul and I talking about this. and just being so glad because it was before all this happened that we knew we were going to have to counsel our daughter. She was going to turn to us and she was going to rely on us and for support and questions. And we were so glad that it was nobody else's fucking opinion but our own. I mean, I'm not a woman. And I know the abortion debate is primarily a woman's issue, and it's my job to stand with you and fight with you. But in these situations, it does. It affects us all. And I'm so angry that these men that think they have no idea. They've got no clue, no medical understanding whatsoever. No understanding of the complications, the situations that doctors face. And they're so fucking arrogant to think that they can just write laws and understand these situations, and they don't. They don't. They just don't. Not quite getting your point there. I thought I got it, but I didn't. Yeah, I mean, this is a fact. MAGA Republicans try to make abortion black and white, and there's nothing black and white about it at all. You can be 36 weeks along and be driving out in the country, and one of the most common issues in a especially a front end collision for a pregnant woman is to have a detached placenta. And at that point, the baby's not breathing. And think about the response time. All those rural hospitals are shut down now thanks to Republicans, thanks to Republican rule. We used to have a hospital that was 15 minutes from us. Now, if you were out in the country driving, you were probably within 5 to 10 minutes of that hospital. Think about the response times and how long that baby's being deprived of oxygen. I mean, that's a common injury for a pregnant woman involved in an accident. And they just don't even think about it. They don't even think about it. In that situation, a mother has to wait. The baby has to die. The mother has to wait until the baby begins to threaten her life before they can act. And that's insane. That's insane. These ignorant idiots think that they know more than doctors, that deal with this stuff in emergency rooms day in and day out. It's just unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. And we are going to change that. We are going to change that this election. We are going to elect enough Democrats to codify Roe v. Wade. That's what we're going to do. I'll be damned if my daughters and granddaughters are going to grow up in a country that has less liberty than what my wife grew up in. They are not going to be second-class citizens, not if I can help it. Yeah, Cynthia, I appreciate this comment. I do appreciate this comment. We all have those stories. Bottom line, as Lindsay showed us, the GOP can't decide if state or Fed should decide because they know it is up to a woman. Well, the bottom line is all they've decided is that they are not going to leave. They're going to make women second-class citizens, and it's not going to stop with Roe. They are looking to uh, over. I mean, we've got several very, very damning. We've got Moore v. Harper coming before the Supreme Court in October, before the election, that deals with election issues. Uh, we've got the question of Obergefell, that dealt with gay marriage. It's just one thing after another after another. They are planning to roll us back to the 50s. They are planning to roll us back to the 40s. When it was just women didn't vote, didn't, I mean, I it's so surreal to be saying it out loud. It's making me trip over my words, but they've just proven it. And they've told us they're going to do it. Like Maya Angelou said, when somebody tells you who they are, believe them. Believe them. All night long he did. All night long, Abbott played the blame game. Tanya, thank you for the comment. It's a fantastic comment. I as she says, I've been a nurse for 30 years and this shit is infuriating. And something I don't hear anyone talking about is the fact that we don't have enough OBs. Absolutely. Absolutely a problem. And then they're making it more difficult and more complicated for them every day. I mean, they're threatening them with prison. It's it's got to be infuriating for people working in our hospital systems to have these. I mean, Tanya, tell me. I would love to hear your opinion on this. How infuriating is it to hear these men that have no medical background at all? I mean, Je- Jesus Christ, Rand Paul's an ophthalmologist, talking about, I'm a doctor, I know. I mean, talking about these issues that nurses in hospitals and emergency rooms deal with daily. How infuriating is it to you to hear these people talk about this stuff and be so wrong about it? Virgil, actually, I don't know anybody that doesn't care, to be honest with you, one way or the other. I think Roe has been a completely clarifying issue. It has really just laid it down. So who caught that bullshit that Abbott was trying to sell about the grid? How they've they fixed our grid here in Texas. I mean, that was just a load of horse shit. Everybody has told us. I mean, they were issuing rolling blackout warnings all summer long. Um, we had failures all around the state. Just because we didn't have a large sectional failure doesn't mean we didn't have failures. Dallas was without power for hours at a time, several times over the summer. I mean, just Abbott just sat there and lied over and over and over again. And he's 8 years in, and all he could do was point fingers at everybody else. And then he would just flat out lie. So, well, I signed a bill that fixed that. Well, no, you didn't. You may have signed a bill, but it sure as hell didn't fix it. Forgive me about the breaks. I'm reading comments. I really want this to be about what you folks have to say. So, forgive the silences. I am looking here and I am seeing so many fantastic comments. It's hard to to pick which one we want to go with. Exactly, Nancy. Exactly. For years, all we heard out of Republicans was small government, get government out of your business. And the next thing you know, all they want to do is be all up in your business, in your bedroom, in your doctor's office, at your pharmacist, everywhere. Was anybody else revolted about the questions regarding Uvalde and how poorly Abbott answered those? He was asked about, Beto brought up the fact that Uvalde had asked for money for radios, and Abbott said, "Oh, no, no, we gave him $1.8 million." Well, yeah, that was before the shooting, and the radios were still not working, and they were still asking you. They were saying they needed more money because the system wasn't working, and you did nothing, nothing, and he's still done nothing. It's been 18 weeks, and they've done nothing. Carol, I feel you. I live out in rural Texas, and you'll have to ask Miss Texas Paul, but for she's 10 times smarter than I am and keeps track of all this stuff. But I would say that we average at least once a month we lose power, at least once a month, because our grid is just so shady. It's just, we get a strong windstorm and power goes out. Yeah, that thank you, Kim. You guys are doing such a better job of putting this into words than I am, and I am so grateful to you. Keep those comments coming. I really do appreciate it. Keep those comments coming. Um, yeah, he did. You could physically see him. It's like his butt puckered up, and he got all angry when he was asked those Uvalde questions, and he immediately started dodging and left to right, and you know so we've got two officers suspended. I mean, there were what, 80 of them there that did nothing. Really, that's what you're doing? How about a top to bottom review of all of our policies regarding crisis situations? How about, you know doing something, not just passing the buck on to somebody else and letting an already broken system not fix itself? Bingo. Mike, I got to tell you, it was you score this one for Beto, and I'm not just being politically biased here. Beto was articulate. He answered questions with detail, and Abbott spent the entire debate just blaming other people for everything and dodging questions and not answering questions and then flat out lying about uh, uh, his own record. Yeah, you'd have thought he'd been ready for this one, but he did. He blew the "it could have been worse" question. I just the heartlessness, the fact that when Abbott was asked about, shown the clip of him saying it could have been worse, he just absolutely muffed that one. My debate assistant just showed up. She'll be popping in and out of the camera. There she is. Uh, that's a good one. Yeah, that is a good one. I don't think they could have worked that into the gubernatorial debate, but yeah, why the hell did Ken Paxton run and dive into the back of a pickup truck to avoid being served? He should have known better. Miss Texas Paul and I were talking about this, and she'll probably say something in the comments about it. But yeah, as AG, if he doesn't know that you can be served without them handing the papers directly to you, I mean, Jesus Christ. What do we have in the Attorney General's office here in Texas? Uh, my cat's name, Kitty Perry. Say hi, Kitty Kitty. Come on. She her name's Kitty Perry, but we call her Kitty Kitty. Oh, did I embarrass you? Okay, she's leaving now. Thank you. Yep. Yes, ma'am. He sure did. Yes, ma'am. He sure did. He took no responsibility for the systems that were in place after 8 years of being governor. He just passed the buck on to law enforcement and ignored it. Yeah. That's the thing that's just infuriating because even if let's say that that's a true statement, the attorney general was in fear from a process server. Doesn't the attorney general know what a process server is? I mean, it's worse if that statement is true. Then you know, it's just pathetic. Yeah, this is a problem. I know it's not debate related, but yeah, this is a real problem right here. Trump has gone full Q, and that's dangerous, folks. I mean, it is dangerous. It's that QAnon rhetoric that got, I don't know if y'all remember Comet Ping Pong, but it got a guy to load up an AR-15 and head to Washington, drive from rural Virginia to Washington, D.C., and kick in the door to a family restaurant, a pizza joint that has no basement, that was supposedly having uh, child trafficking auctions in its basement just because he read it on QAnon. I mean, this Q stuff is dangerous, and now you have the leader of the MAGA cult embracing it full on. I mean, it that this is truly dangerous. Another good comment from Kim. What exactly is Governor Abbott responsible for besides abortion bans, shipping migrants to Democratic cities on Texas taxpayer dimes, and failing unreliable power grid? Summed up well. Summed up well. But I tell you, I want to focus in on the part about shipping migrants to Democratic cities. Did you catch his non answer to the question about why are you only shipping migrants to cities that are in states with Democratic governors? Why aren't you shipping migrants to sanctuary cities like Atlanta or New Orleans that have Republican governors? And he ran for the hills, totally ran for the hills. Basically, he paid Democrats a giant compliment. He said, "Well, those cities that we're shipping them to have they're extremely large cities that have the infrastructure in place to deal with these people." Well, thank you. It's because we're Democrats. That's why they had the infrastructure, because we're not fucking Republicans sitting here not doing our job. I like this question, Snake. I do. And the answer is you don't. If a Hispanic is dumb enough to support Trump or Abbott, you're not going to be able to reach them. There's just not enough brain cells there to help them. There aren't. Hispanics are wonderful people. They're very common sense people. I will tell you, I grew up in a Hispanic community, and if there's a Hispanic out there looking at Trump saying, "That's my guy," um, you're not gonna be able to help 'em. Amen, Blair. Atlanta is a little bigger than Martha's Vineyard, but be damned if they're not shipping any of those migrants to Georgia. Wonder why that could be. Yeah, this is a great point. I did a TikTok today talking about how Abbott has been flirting with groups like the Three Percenters and the CSPOA, which the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, which is a radical group of sheriffs that believe in posse comitatus and uh, the whole sovereign citizen movement. It's all based in racism. These are the people that actually the leader of it, guy by, is actually inspired the Oklahoma City bombing. Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols both said that it was his lawsuit and his posse comitatus rhetoric that they had been following, um, that led them to bomb the Oklahoma City building and attack the government. So yeah, these groups are extremely dangerous, extremely dangerous. Let's not give that guy a hard time. That's his gig. They pay him a lot of money to travel around. Tanya, let's not give that guy a hard time. He's just making bank. That's all he's doing. We all know why he's there. Welcome to the new folks coming in. What we're doing is we're having a roundtable discussion from you folks in the chat. And the more questions I get, the better off the discussion is going to be. So, any comments or questions you had about the debate, throw them out there. I'll pull them up on the screen and we'll talk about them. Florida, Blair, I just, I've got to ask a question. You live in Florida. Who do you want to be in charge of rebuilding right now? You want Republicans in charge or Democrats? Straight honest question. We've all seen the devastation. We've all seen the kind of help that Florida is going to need. Do you want the I'm my brother's keeper party or do you want the party of Cain? My wife's been making a ton of peanut butter cookies, mainly to piss my mother-in-law off because she hates peanut butter. We've been my father-in-law's been a little bit down, so she's a great daughter, and she's been sending peanut butter cookies to my father-in-law like crazy. Rick Scott is insane. Rick Scott is insane. There's no other reason that I can give you for why he voted against emergency funding today, other than the man is just insane. Why a Florida politician would do that is beyond me. I don't think it is, to be honest with you, Carol. Um, all these games that he was playing about shipping people to Martha's Vineyards and everything, that was all funny, ha ha, before the hurricane hit. But when the hurricane hit, all of a sudden people want some seriousness. And DeSantis doesn't look like a serious man right now. Hey, Kathy, I hadn't seen that, but thank you for the information. Glad to see it. Glad to see it. Like I said, I'm not being partisan when I say this debate was a win for Beto. It was a solid performance. He did well. He spoke to the issues. He actually had answers to questions. He did a fantastic job. Good to see you, Tanya. I love New York City. Me and Mrs. Texas Paul absolutely adore New York City. If you're from Texas, all you hear about New York is you're going to get mugged and they're going to be rude. And I have to tell you, when I got to New York, they were the nicest people. They were the nicest people. Everybody wanted to help you. No one was rude. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. We found DePaulo's cheese shop by accident. Um, we put together a nice little picnic and went out and had a picnic in the park. It was great. It was just a fantastic time. Folks, if you have not visited New York, you need to. It is an amazing city. We're hoping to get back there pretty soon. That's true. The Beto rallies are a good time. They are a good time. Me and Mrs. Texas Paul get to as many as we can because the people there are just so happy and so pumped up. It's a good time. Well, Blair, I've never been to Long Island, so I don't know. I may hold it against her. I don't know. So we've got several people in here, but not enough questions. So if you're watching, I want you to pop out a question. What did you think about tonight's debate? Did you see tonight's debate? And if you didn't see tonight's debate, what questions do you have about it? Or if you just got a question in general, throw it in there because we're doing a roundtable discussion and it's being led by you folks in the audience. So please throw me a question out there and I will jump all over it. Thank you, Tanya. I appreciate it. Another great point. DeSantis should not be in charge of rebuilding money. He shouldn't. Um, Something else that I would like to add that's not debate related, but I wish Biden was a bit more hardcore, a little bit more of a Democrat of my cut and jib. Um, I would have told Republicans Florida doesn't get a damn dime unless you make Puerto Rico a state. That's what I would have done, but that's just me. I'm just hardcore that way. We were up in rural Pennsylvania not too long ago. I have to tell you, if you've never been to Gettysburg, folks, that will just it's amazing. It is amazing. Go to Gettysburg, and if you go to Gettysburg, stop by Eisenhower's house. It borders on the edge of Gettysburg. It is a wonderful, wonderful place to go. Beautiful country. Beautiful country. I can explain this pretty easily. One, it's who's doing the polling. Two, it's the methodology of the polling is outdated. They're calling people with landlines, which is going to be old Texans, which are going to be Republicans. So the fact that he's not leading by 20 is amazing. And three, Beto has a system that is not the same as the old Democratic system. That's one of the things when Beto and I had a conversation, private conversation, when he was down in Lufkin. He was telling me if I ever should I ever decide to run, don't listen to the Democratic Party. He's got a system of putting boots on the ground, getting volunteers, and knocking on doors and standing in people's faces to answer questions. And it works. It really works. Every election he's had has shown him down in the polls. He damn near beat Cruz. If they hadn't closed so many of the rural polling places, he would have actually beaten Cruz. He would have. Republicans are doing everything they can to try to repeat that, but Beto has. I don't know if you noticed the town halls have been very, very rural focused so that he can get that vote out. So I wouldn't pay much attention to that 7-point lead that Abbott's supposed to have because it really doesn't pan out when you start looking at the specifics of it. Yeah, it was bad. I was sitting there jotting notes down, and I was like, I I I I don't know how to exactly write this out. I don't Abbott didn't answer. I mean, I must have written that down 4 times. Abbott didn't answer. Abbott blamed Biden. Abbott I mean, I think I could have written Abbott blamed Biden, Abbott didn't answer, and Abbott lied, and that would have pretty much well covered every question. That didn't bother me too bad actually, Don. I mean, it's a great point. It is a great point. Um, but I think Abbott was his own worst enemy tonight because every time was asked a question that he should have been prepared for. And I'll give you an example going the other direction. Beto was asked about the comment that he made about confiscating guns, and he answered that tonight. He walked that back. He put the shit back in the horse, which I thought was going to be difficult for him to do, but he did a good job of it. Abbott, the more he talked, the worse he looked. By the end of the debate, I was kind of hoping they'd just let him give a speech rather than have a debate. Yeah, Blair, that was a glaring miss right there. That was just glaring. The policies here in Texas about trans kids, and I'm gonna go into just a bit of a rant, and I want you to stick with me, folks. Your sexuality is not determined by your genitals. I hate to disappoint you. If you lost your genitals, you would still be either a man or a woman in here. You would be. How you feel, what attracted you, everything. All of that is not going to how you feel about your own body. That would none of that would change if you lost your genitals. So that's what I mean by your genitals don't determine your sexuality. We know for a fact it's up in your there's a you see a picture of a brain, you see the wrinkly part. Well, if you peel the wrinkly part, there's a section right under the wrinkly part and a little nodule down there called the hypothalamus. The covering over the hypothalamus, there's a strip that runs down the center of it. And that and the hypothalamus actually determines your sexuality. That determines how you feel about your body. And I want you to try to imagine for a minute waking up tomorrow, let's just say all the women in the audience and all the men in the audience. You wake up tomorrow and you're the opposite sex. Women, you've got 60 or 70 extra pounds on you. Your center of gravity is about 6 to 8 inches higher. You smell wrong. You're producing the wrong hormones, so you smell wrong. You think you're cranky now, try living on testosterone. Believe me, there's a reason we men have this unspoken language between us. It's so we don't end up fighting all the fucking time. Um, and men, imagine waking up, your center of gravity is too low, you smell wrong, you feel wrong. Well, that's how a trans person feels all the time, because everything that makes up their sexuality does not jive with their body. And that is just something that happens. I talk to people that are, you know, and don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing them to animals. I'm not. I'm just saying that if you're involved in animal husbandry, you see the damnedest things happen. It's just anomalies happen. And sometimes in human beings, one of the anomalies that happens is the DNA for your build and your body says man, and the DNA for the portion of your brain that determines your sexuality says woman, and vice versa. That just happens. And they're people, and they're dealing with this. And this isn't the 60s or the 70s where we're guessing how to deal with this. We can actually do brain scans, and we can tell someone is trans from the brain scans. There's significant differences in the white matter in the brain. There's significant differences I won't go on and on about it, but I just want to tell you, this is a real physical condition, and we can help young people deal with. Just imagine you're thinking about this as an adult about how confusing it would feel. Think about it as a child trying to go through all the development a child go through that you went through as a cisgendered person, or just a gay person. Think about how confusing it must be for a trans person, because they don't even feel like they're in the right body. Every day when they wake up, it just feels wrong. And to make it harder on them is just cruelty. It's the cruelty that is the GOP. It is the cruelty that is the GOP. We know for a fact that we can diagnose this issue, and it is an issue for a trans person. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being trans. I'm just saying that it is an issue that has to be dealt with, because you're having conflicting issues with your body and your mind, and we could ease those with therapies. We can ease those with hormone therapies. We can help them not feel so uncomfortable. And we know for a fact, it's proven, it reduces the number of suicides by 60%. And Republicans have now made that a crime in this state. That if you're a parent of a transgender child and you get them hormone therapy to help them deal with this conflict in their own body, they're saying you're committing child abuse and they'll take all your children away. That's god awful to me. That is god awful to me. I can't understand it. I can't understand that kind of cruelty. Well, Blair, I appreciate you for sharing that with us. And I hope I got it right because I'm always humble about trying to talk about other people's shoes that I can't walk in. And I hope I got it right. I love the work that Midas does. I do. That's why I enjoy working with them. Just a blatant plug here for Midas Snake. I appreciate you saying that. They do good work. It's why I enjoy working with them. On top of everything I do here and on my own social media, it's a pleasure to work with Midas Touch. I missed this because I ran in here to get this live going, but thanks for sharing this. Uh, yeah, I believe Abbott wouldn't want to show up because I mean he did such a horrible job in the debate. Well, man, they're just people. You know, they're our fellow man. Our fellow. When I say our fellow man, of course, I mean our fellow people. No, that's just who they are. I don't understand the hatred. I don't understand the hatred. I don't understand. You know, man, I've had gay people hit on me before, and I didn't get angry. I was flattered. You know, hey, man, I must let me pull my hat off and brush my hair back a little bit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, Paul looks good enough to that even the gay guys like me. That's a compliment. Terry, phone banking. Everybody's got a cell phone, and they are constantly looking for volunteers. Contact the campaign, and what they'll have you do is making phone calls. They'll give you a script, and you'll just be calling and talking to people, and you know it starts with a script, but you just end up in conversations. And they'll give you a list of Beto's positions so you don't have to guess or anything like that. And if you've got a cell phone, there's no long distance charges. So, you know, I mean, it's a good thing that people from other states can do if you actually want to help Beto out. Speaking of helping out, if you can, folks, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And there is a donation portion in my link tree and a link to my merchandise. So I've got my green screen down so that people can see my office and stuff. But I built a studio in here, and it's not free or cheap. Neither is the software to run this. So any help would be greatly appreciated. You know, and that's a nice thing to say, but gay people are just people. I imagine there are some assholes out there just like everybody else. But I have to agree with you. I really haven't known any many gay people. I think it's all the shit that they have to put up with in life coming up tends to make them be more understanding of other people, more sympathetic. But I'm not sure about that. I don't know the science. So, what did y'all think about the gun control answers tonight? Anybody got any comments on that? What did y'all think about Beto walking back the comment about confiscating assault rifles? I appreciate the comment, but Lindsey Graham's still looking for Narnia, so we'll just leave him alone in his closet. Yeah, Beto listed a few, but you're right. The debate was so short, and it just the format just really debates really need to be 2 hours long. They really do to really flesh things out, or they need to have multiple debates. But Abbott would only agree to one, and we know why because he got his ass creamed tonight. Yeah, I appreciate this, Michael. You're absolutely right. It is to appease not so much Trump, but Trump voters. There seems to be a thing within, Marjorie Taylor Greene said it that the Republican Party, the old Republican Party's dead. That MAGA now runs the Republican Party, and Liz Cheney can attest to that. It's funny you should say that, Virgil. Where I hunt, that's actually a problem. So I actually like to carry an AK-47 with me when I hunt, and it's the only time it ever leaves this house. What I don't understand, what I don't understand is people carrying guns in public. I grew up around guns. I I like to hunt. I used to shoot competitively, uh, trap, skeet, sporting clays. But we didn't carry guns, and I still don't carry guns. I've never understood that mentality. Um, keep your guns locked up in a cabinet. Keep, why the hell do you need a gun at Walmart? I don't understand. I wish somebody could explain it to me, but we all live by shooting range rules. I mean, a range master, if you load a gun on a range and you're not on the firing line, they'll kick you off the range. I mean, why are all these people walking around armed? I don't get it. What is the matter? What what is your malfunction, I should say? What is your malfunction that you have to walk around armed? I mean, if I gave everybody in chat a hammer, by God, you'd find something to hit with it. And if I give everybody in chat a gun to walk around with all day long, um, you're gonna find a reason to use it, and that's a problem. I was talking to somebody about this today about TikTok. About you know, you got mill talk, you got political talk, you've got gun talk. I've never seen a video in gun talk where they talked about de-escalation training. It's all about it's all about assault rifles or handguns or combat tactics or penetration. You know, you never see anything in gun talk about de-escalation of situations so that you never have to use your gun. All these guys are walking around dreaming about shooting people, and it's insane. And this is a great comment. He did mention that, and I strongly doubt that the SCOTUS is going to do that. You saw Alito whining the other day about how everyone is questioning the uh, the Supreme Court, and he's not very happy about it. So I think the message might be getting through that this radical bullshit is not well liked within the country, but who knows? Kim, that's a great point. That is a fantastic point. As long as we have lobbyists pumping in money, the special interests will always take precedent over the people. And that's why I like Beto. People always ask me, what is it about Beto that you like? What is it? What makes you support him? And it's because he's real. The guy's real. He I really believe he's going to act for the people. All politicians have to work within the system, but I really believe he's going to be a politician that actually tries to make things better for your average person here in Texas. I really do. And God, I hope he doesn't disappoint me. Yeah, Jill, thank you. Another great comment. It's not getting through Thomas's head as he is talking about overturning Griswold v. Connecticut and Obergefell. Yeah, do you folks know what Griswold is all about? Is that common knowledge out here in the? I know we tend to get a better crowd, a smarter crowd, but Griswold, if you're not familiar, apologize if you already do know. It was a decision back in I want to say 63. I might be wrong about that. 1963 or 65. I want to say 63. And what that was, it was a law that was uh, basically making condoms and birth control illegal. And a couple by the name of Griswold sued Connecticut, and basically it became a privacy issue. The judge told the state of Connecticut that they needed to mind their own damn business when it came to people's choices for uh, contraception. And Republicans have sworn, Marsha Blackburn specifically of Tennessee, has sworn to overturn Griswold. They want to be able to tell you what contraceptions you can have. They want the government to have more power in your life. That's the point of it. Is Griswold ensured privacy. It was the basis for Roe v. Wade. It told the government to stay the hell out of your business. And Republicans are telling you they want to overturn this. They want the government in your business. They want the government to be able to dictate to you. They want to take away our democracy. They call Trump King Trump. They call him King MAGA. They want to install a fascist. And they're telling us to our face. I'm not telling you this. They're telling you this. I'm just repeating it. Go look it up for yourself. I mean, look up anything I say, please do. I stand by what I say. But these people are just insane, and they really want to dictate your life completely. And what's scary is Italy just elected a fascist. They did just a few days ago. This is a very scary time. We have to show up and we have to fight for our freedoms or we're going to lose them, folks. We're going to lose them. Yeah, I've been catching a few more Abbott ads, but I think because what you're seeing is Abbott is in trouble, so he's had to start sooner with the ad blitz. Usually, it's the last couple weeks that the real ad blitz comes, and Abbott has been finding himself in trouble, so he's really gone on the offensive as far as the ads are concerned. Um, but I have to tell you, some of them are just self defeating. One of them made him just look like a complete wimp. He called the Mexican border the most dangerous border on the planet. I don't know if anybody's seen that one, but yeah, that was hilarious to me. I mean, I don't know what kind of weakling snowflake you have to be to think the Mexican border is the most dangerous border on the planet, but you've really got to live a very sheltered life. And I tell you, people, it's really damaging to my state. When we lost the TMEC project, which is a rail line that was supposed to run from down in Guadalajara all the way up to Canada, and there are going to be tons of factories along that rail line. And the Mexican government is tired of being disrespected. They're tired of Abbott. They're tired of the way Republicans act towards Mexico. And that last stunt when Abbott was shutting down the ports by inspecting every single truck, um, the land ports. Mexico pulled the TMEC project, and they're going to run it through New Mexico now. I mean, that's going to cost Texas tens of billions of dollars in the next few decades, just in lost factories alone. And folks, I mean, I don't blame Mexico. I don't. If I was Mexico, I would be damn tired of the disrespect that these people show them. They're one of our best allies. They are may be our best ally, and we're disrespecting them at every turn, and that's bullshit. Arizona's doing the same thing. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for reminding folks. That's absolutely right. I'd like to remind everybody that this happened to me a few elections back. I checked my registration, and they changed my address to an address that I hadn't. It was two previous addresses back. I hadn't lived there in years, and they willy nilly on their own because of caging. And I explained earlier what caging was, I believe, where they're sending letters out, and because of somebody had tried to catch me, with that old caging bullshit. The state willy nilly changed my address to halfway across the state. So, what did you folks think about the immigration questions? They just really didn't do a very good job in this debate on this one. This Operation Lone Star is really something else, man. I mean, we just had some information come out from the Cato Institute. Cato's libertarian. I don't agree with their assessments, but they don't lie. Their facts are always correct. Now, what they decide as far as policy based on those facts, I'm liberal. I'm liberal. I don't usually agree with Cato, but I can't call them liars. They're factual, and they just came out mid August with a report that said that 85% of the fentanyl being smuggled into this country is being smuggled in by U.S. citizens. That they're Americans going across the border, buying fentanyl and carrying it back. That's what the convictions show. So basically, that whole narrative to this Operation Lone Star is bullshit. As far as stopping human trafficking, well, that's being done by Customs and Border Patrol. There's very little human trafficking going on as far as foot traffic is concerned. That's the poorest of the poor. Most human trafficking is done through the ports, El Paso, Eagle Pass. They drive them through in cars. Those are caught by federal officers. Those are Biden's arrests. It's just a waste of money. And, I don't know if you remember, Trump ceded Afghanistan to the Taliban. He fucked over the Afghan government by negotiating with the Taliban without talking to them. Then he released 5,000 terrorists without talking to the Afghan government. And then all right wingers could talk about was a suicide bomber blew himself up at the airport and killed 13 Marines. And that was a tragedy. That was a damn shame that happened. I mean, that was a damn tragedy. But we've had 8 National Guardsmen die. 8 National Guardsmen die for this bullshit Operation Lone Star. 6 of them by suicide. 6 of them by suicide because Abbott, for his own reelection bullshit, ripped them out of their lives. Some of them lost spouses and committed suicide. Some of them, were running businesses and were going bankrupt, so they committed suicide. You had 2 that were killed in kind of questionable circumstances. They think those may have been suicides also, but they were weapons misfires or correct terminology escapes me, but what about them? We heard about those 13 Marines forever. Say their names, say their names. All right wingers said, but they don't give a shit about these guardsmen that have died down at the border. You don't hear a peep about it. Not a word. That's a laugh. That's a laugh. That was always rhetoric. I'm old. I'm old. I lived through Reagan, man. I mean, that when that shit started, the party of personal responsibility, that was bullshit then, and it was bullshit now. That was a talking point. That was never the case. Kind of like right now in Florida, they kind of like that socialism right now, don't they? Amanda, I sure appreciate you saying this. They are literally trying to pass laws so women can't cross state lines to get health care or donate to help them. Are they going to stop all women from traveling? Yes. I'm going to answer that question for you. Yes. They are making the Republican Party wants to make women second class citizens, and I will be goddamned if I'm going to let them do that to my daughters, my grandchildren, or my wife. That's not happening. And the answer to your question is yes, Amanda. That's exactly what they intend to do. There are already Texas and Missouri come to mind. There's like 11 other states. As a woman, did you know you can't get divorced if you're pregnant? They will not legally allow you to divorce in the state of Texas if you are pregnant. I mean, these Republicans are insane. Yes. Yes, actually, Tanya, they are. They are. They're going to have checks at the borders. They are. I love Kitty Perry to death, but I hate the cat hair. You're a pain in the ass, you know that? I love her to death, though. You know, Kim, that's you've had thank you so much for being here tonight. You've had so many great questions or comments, I should say. And this is a fantastic question. I don't know what it's going to take for Dems. You know, I have so many complimentary things to say about Joe Biden. Um, I was a Pete Buttigieg guy. I really was. But I'm what they I am the founder of the Ride or Die Democrats. If you don't know what a Ride or Die Democrat is, let me explain it to you. We're a group that have pledged that during the primaries, we're going to fight like hell for who we believe in. I fought for Mayor Pete. But when the primary's over and we've got a candidate, there are no more single issue voters. There's no more butthurt Democrats. There are no Bernie bros. There are none of that bullshit anymore. We vote for whoever the Democratic candidate is. And then within the party, we keep fighting for our beliefs. So I'll tell you, yeah, I wasn't a Biden supporter at first. I wasn't. But he has shocked me at he has been so politically adept. The job he's done keeping us out of a world war in Europe has been amazing. The way he strengthened NATO, the way he's gotten Republicans to vote for bills that I would have never thought for an instant he'd have got passed. He's done an amazing job. He really has. But I tell you, there's some things I don't like about old school Joe Biden. He has way too much respect for the institutions that don't exist anymore. The Senate isn't what it used to be. The Senate is not, you know, there was a reason that senators were elected every 6 years instead of every two. It's because they were supposed to be able to make the hard decisions and not please their base. And they don't do that anymore. They just don't do that anymore. They don't make deals. They don't make the hard decisions anymore. The Republicans have become MAGA. And it's time for the Democrats to wake up and realize that we can't play by the same old rules. It's like I said, I normally after a disaster we would just come together and deal with it. But after the way Republicans voted on Sandy and all of that, I don't know if I was in charge, I would have said you make Puerto Rico a state, you make Washington D.C. a state, and we'll talk about sending a dime to Florida. But until then, you don't get a damn dime. Bingo. Another great one from Virgil. Me too. I catch a lot of shit because a lot of people think that Kamala is the heir apparent because she's vice president. But man, I like Pete and I'm going to stick with it. I think the guy's smart as hell. He goes on Fox News and just humiliates him all the damn time. And I don't give a damn about his personal business. I want somebody that's that damn smart and clear headed running the country and young. I'm looking for a younger candidate. Tired of these old guys. Gavin Newsom, I'll be honest, I like the guy. I think he'd have a harder time. He's going to have a hard time getting elected. He's going to lose every red state there is by a wide margin, simply because he's from California. I don't know what it is about California. I guess it's because they're successful and have a beautiful state that it just drives right wingers nuts. But Gavin Newsom's going to face a lot of negatives, and he's going to have to do a lot of work. Um, but I'm not opposed to Gavin Newsom. So, how do y'all feel about Kamala Harris if she runs in 24? Because I don't know that Biden is actually. He says he's going to run again, but I don't know that he's going to. He's having. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you've been following the inside baseball, but he's got a severe case of GERD. Um, he's always fought a stutter, but he's got a severe case of GERD. So he's always in pain. It's why his speech pattern has changed so much over the last year. And he's got had a back injury. And that's why he walks so stiff and upright now. So the man he's like Roosevelt was. People didn't realize that Franklin Roosevelt was in such pain all the time and when he was leading. But Biden's doing the exact same thing. And I just don't know at his age that he's got it in him to run again. Well, I'm seeing a lot of people that kind of agree with me as far as Kamala is concerned. I like the lady. I really do like her personally. I do. Um, I think she's going to go back to the Senate and maybe run for governor in California. If Newsom runs for president, Kamala may run for governor in California. But as far as running for president, she just doesn't seem to have that it factor. The closest she came to it is when she came off the planes wearing their chucks and she was in a good stride. But for the most part, I'm just not seeing it. She just doesn't appeal to a lot of people. I mean, hell, I loved Obama. I did. I was a delegate for Obama, but Kamala, as much as I like her, I don't. She just doesn't seem to have the it factor. Thanks for this, Wendy. This is a great comment. Did you notice as soon as Biden started calling out MAGAs, his poll numbers went up? That's what we've been waiting for, that fire. Amen. Exactly. That's what I've been saying forever. People are tired of it. They want somebody who's a fighter and I got to give it to Biden. Politically, he's been able to get stuff done that has been amazing. He has, but man, I tell you what, some of these issues, I wish we'd have had somebody meaner and louder. I like Raskin, but Raskin's got an appearance problem. I wish you could take Raskin's brain and put it in somebody else's body. You know what I mean? I just, I like Tim Ryan. Tim Ryan's a scrapper, man. He really is. He is. That is one pissed off Irishman when he gets to talking. I like him a lot. Reminds me a lot of Beto. I like Raskin a lot. I really do. I really do. I don't know. He's going to have to do some image changes. I mean, he can't be doing that. He's got to get over the fact that he's bald. Okay. He's just got to get over that. He's going to have to trim the hair back and just live with the fact that he's bald, accept it. Everybody else knows it, and get over that and stop doing that crazy thing he's doing where he's painting his head and sticking his hair down, and that's got to stop, man. I mean, I hate that politics is that superficial, but it is. It just is. It's like people bitch about money in politics. I hate it, you hate it, but that's the way it is. I mean, you can't not donate because you don't like money in politics. Is that well, that's just losing. You know what Wendy, when Tim Ryan won me over, when he had the stones to go up against Nancy Pelosi for speaker, that took a lot. I mean, because Nancy Pelosi's tough, man. She's got a lock on that. I mean, she's people don't give her enough credit for being as tough as she is. Um, and Tim Ryan did, man. He put it all on the line and said, "Hey, I'm gonna." Partially that's why he's running for Senate, because you know Nancy Pelosi's not forgiving. No, I'm not talking about his yarmulke. That's not what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about Raskin. Thanks for pointing that out. No, I'm not. He's got he's bald. If you I've seen him without his yarmulke, okay? From about the middle of the back of his head to about halfway over the top of his head, there is no hair there. And he does crazy shit with his hair that makes it look weird. No, I'm not talking about when Raskin wears his yarmulke. And I do love Raskin. I do. I mean, that guy is smart as hell and a fighter. I just wish that he would just, you know what? Let me put it to you this way. A political consultant, if he decides to run, is going to grab a hold of him, pull him in a room by himself, and say, "Look, what the fuck's going on your head?" That's what they're gonna have that conversation. They are. And no, I'm not bald shaming. I'm just saying if you are bald, we know it, you know it, it's okay. I mean, for fuck's sake, look at Trump. We know he's bald. He looks like a fucking idiot with that shit he does with his hair. That's right. Embrace it. Look, most men are bald because of excessive testosterone. Embrace it. Just say it means I'm alpha. Am I bald? No, no, I'm not. Natural blonde. And no, I'm not going to prove it. You got to forgive the scratches. I'm sorry, folks. I was putting some tan on a roof and got myself pretty bad. I'm sorry. I know that looks terrible. I keep forgetting lifting my arm up. I agree, Jill. It does look stupid. I mean, there's nothing wrong with men lose their hair. We do. It's just part of it. You know? Look, you want me to look? Let me show you something. I'm not bald, but I have my dad's widow's peaks. Look at that. I don't hide it. Shit, I push that hair back. I'm happy with it. I don't care. Just be who you are. And I will say it again, just to be clear. I love Jamie Raskin. But you know who I love more than Jamie Raskin, to be quite honest with you, is Katie Porter. I tell you what, if me and that woman were having a talk and she reached in and pulled that whiteboard out, I would piss myself. You know what's interesting? I love Keith Olbermann. I followed Keith Olbermann back from when he was back on MSNBC. He's got a great podcast right now, by the way. If you haven't seen it, Keith Olbermann has a fantastic podcast. He really does. You should check it out. But he used to date Kristen Sinema, and he was talking about that just last week because people were giving him shit about it. He's like, "What is with you? You dated Laura Ingraham." And then you dated Christian Cinema. What the hell is wrong with you, man? are, are, you have the shittiest taste in girlfriends. And he was like, okay, I'll take the hit on Laura Ingraham, but Christian Cinema used to be a liberal. She didn't used to be this freak. And I mean, as soon as she hit Congress, she just, I don't know, they bought that one off, man. They bought her off. She is I think it's Keith Olbermann, to be honest with you. I think that's the name of his podcast. It's Countdown with Keith Olbermann. It's the same as his old show. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I do. And I think there's a lot of people that are regret not voting for Hillary. I guarantee you. But hell yes, people would vote for a woman. I think those days are over. I mean, for Christ's sake, how many countries? I mean, India. I mean, hell, man. Britain had a female prime minister in the 80s. Indira Gandhi. I mean, what was that? 78 to like 84 or something like that. I mean, it was, come on. I mean, we're way behind the times on that. Yes, I think people will vote for a woman. I do. And it's a sad testament to our country that's even a legitimate question. And it is a legitimate question. Jill, you're nailing it tonight. I'm telling you. And I think that may be her future because as much as I love Nancy Pelosi, she doesn't have a lot of years left in her. The job that she has is incredibly stressful. It's being speaker is not easy. It's harder in many ways than being president because you don't have as much support staff as the president does. But yeah, I could see Katie Porter as speaker. I really could. Boy, could you imagine if Al Gore had put up a harder fight? Go back that far, not just Hillary. Go back to 19. Let's go back to 2000. Could you imagine President Al Gore and how different things would be? And she has been, hadn't she, Wendy? Another great comment. She's been right about every damn thing. I did not know that about Golda Meir. I did not. I knew she was a hell of a strong woman, but I did not know that about Golda Meir. If y'all don't know who Golda Meir is, she was the prime minister of Israel. Sorry about that. I had a bit of a technical issue. But you think Hakeem Jeffries over Benny Thompson? I mean, Benny Thompson's done a great job with the January 6 hearings. That's a great question, Snake, but I'm not going to end up running against Cruz. I'm not. I am thinking about running for office. I've got something in mind. Haven't made a decision on it yet. Haven't been quite as successful in fundraising as I would need to be to really make that a serious question. We've got Scott Kelly is going to run against um, Ted Cruz, and he's going to be a great candidate. That's another good one. Adam Schiff, another brilliant one. Another guy with a good big set of stones, man. I tell you what, when that guy walks down the hall, you hear a clinking noise. Well, folks, we got about 5 minutes left. Let me hear some good questions, some good comments, and let's round this out with a big bang. We got a good group here left. We got about 60 people left in the chat. Let's hear some questions from some people that we haven't heard before. Cory Booker. Like Cory Booker. I don't know. What do y'all think? I don't know. I mean, do you think he's got the it factor? I mean, he's a sharp looking guy. He's outstanding communicator. Great question. Jill, you've been knocking him out of the park tonight. Will Merrick Garlick charge Trump? Absolutely. Absolutely, he's going to. And Merrick Garland never misses. Never misses. He's got 100% conviction rate. And he's not scared of difficult cases. You know, he was one of the prosecutors in the Oklahoma City bombing. And I'm betting you right about now that that old turtlehead Mitch McConnell wishes that Merrick Garland was sitting on the Supreme Court instead of as Attorney General. But yeah, I do believe that Merrick Garland is building one hell of a case against Trump. The problem is, you know, everybody's wanting the indictments. The problem that they're running into, because I happen to be very close to a special agent who keeps explaining to me that everything that they do with Trump, they keep running into other cases, and it just keeps ballooning and ballooning and ballooning. And at some point, you've got to just go ahead with indictments, but you don't want to go ahead with an indictments while you still got active investigations going on, because you can actually destroy those investigations. So that's part of the problem with indicting Trump is that every time that they, for instance, I'll give you a perfect example. Trump asked for that special master. Turns out, boom, all of the information that he was refusing to turn over in the Manhattan Letitia James investigation was in Mar-a-Lago, and they told her about it. So now they're getting her the documents that she was looking for, and that's going to lead to more. She's referred those cases to the Southern District of New York, the prosecutor to the DOJ, and the prosecutor in the Southern District of New York. So yeah, that's another case that people don't realize is in Merrick Garland's wheelhouse. I mean, he's that didn't stay in the Southern District of New York. That immediately, because it's a former president, ran right to Merrick Garland's desk. Yes, and that's another reason I think that Merrick Garland is being very, very, very judicious in his investigation. This is a fact right here. There are people in Congress that are going to be also indicted. No, I think Trump is going to die uh, by suicide when he's finally indicted. When the reality of the fact that he can no longer see, Trump is one of these people that never stops fighting. You know, he never stops fighting. Like the special master thing. People think that that failed. Well, actually, no, it actually worked for Trump. Yeah, he had some bad results come out of it, but he's delayed this case. He got Eileen Cannon, that corrupt ass judge, to delay this case. And they keep kicking it down the road and keep kicking it. And then there will be an appeal. Then it'll go to the Supreme Court. And then it'll go, every single aspect of this case, he's going to fight tooth and nail to the very end. And it's just, I think once he's finally against the wall, I think he's going to stick a gun in his mouth and he's going to kill himself. The man is too weak for prison. Yeah, Tricia, great comment, and that's a fact. That was the worst thing that could possibly happen to him. I don't know if you remember this, and I don't know how much inside politics you folks are, but it was common knowledge. Trump never actually intended to win. He thought he was actually going to come in second in the primaries. He never even thought he was going to be the nominee. And the reports are that when the reports came back that he had actually won the election, that he looked like he had seen a ghost, that he sat quietly by himself for an extended period of time because he realized what he got himself into. He was in way, way, way over his head. And yeah, had he never won, and it'd just been the grift of him taking he was short on cash, and it was supposed to be a grift where he took some cash away and then he was going to start a network and all of that shit went downhill. You know, he the worst thing that ever happened to Trump is he became president. Yep, there's a lot of people that have who old like what old Rick Wilson said. Everything Trump touches dies. Wendy, Trump's too hot a commodity. He's a useful idiot to Russia. They won't have him though. That 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 you're talking about. I don't know if you're old enough to remember uh, the Shah of Iran and how that ended up working out. But no, Trump's too big a deal. Russia wouldn't take him. And besides, I don't think Putin's going to be there to take him. I'm a huge fan of Rick Wilson and the Lincoln Project. I think they do fantastic work. I'm glad to see some former Republicans doing some good. Well, folks, it's getting late, and we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. It's running about 5 minutes longer than I promised. So somebody throw me one last good comment out there, and let's wrap this up. And please, folks, if you would hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, it means the world to me. I'm trying to hire an editor. Costs you nothing, helps you find my content a little bit easier, but it helps me on my way to monetizing and paying other people, creating American jobs. If you get a chance, if you feel like it, head to my link tree. There's a way to donate there, and there's also a link to my merchandise page. So if you want one of these Texas Paul shirts with my beautiful face on it, you can get it there. I appreciate you folks for turning out, but I'm really, really enjoying this, and I'm hoping to do more of it. Hope you see me Sunday morning. I've got to give a speech Sunday afternoon, but I will still be here Sunday morning for Sunday Coffee with Texas Paul. Somebody throw me one last good question. Appreciate that, Jill. I enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. My Sunday show is at 9 Central, 9 a.m. Central. I like to compete with the bullshit network shows. I try to take a look at what's happened throughout the week and just give straight, no bullshit, no whitewash, no nonsense takes on what's been going on through the week. Seems like networks nowadays are, since they quit being a loss leader and are all out for profit, are just trying to sell this drama all the time. And I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. I like to call it balls and strikes the way they are. That's a great question, Terry, and a great one to end on because I do a roundtable with Midas Touch for the January 6th Commission. So far, we have one day. Inside Baseball says that there are 5 more hearings, but you can't hold me to that. So far, they've only confirmed one, but they're what we're hearing from aides and whatnot is that there's just way too much there to pile into one hearing, and they're estimating they're expecting as many as 5 more hearings. So there's a lot of information left out there. They haven't even touched Congress yet. Remember, we still don't know who put those bombs out in front of the DNC and the RNC. Well, we know, but we haven't talked about it yet anyways. Chuck Todd is trash. Good night, folks. It was a really good time talking to you. Y'all are a great bunch of people. Hope to see you Sunday. I also do a show on Wednesday evenings with my good friend Tennessee Brando. It's called TNT. Texas Paul, Tennessee Brando. It's a good show. Brando is the opposite of me. We're kind of like fire and ice. He's really super nice guy. He is. He's the most laid back guy you've ever want to meet. And I like to bring the heat. So it's a good mix. It's a good mix. Join us sometime for TNT if you get the chance. Y'all have a wonderful evening. And like I said, hit my link tree. If you can help out, great. If you can't, it was just great having you here. Tell people about the show. Trying to get it built up as big as we can. Thanks, folks. Old Texas Paul out.